Beautiful Algorithms. I'm Kwame Garcia.
I'm Jeremiah Lanier, the in-house philosopher.
I'm Josh Lanier. You know what it is, you know.
Charles behind the camera, man.
So I guess the topic is faith and reason. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Is faith reasonable? Is it irrational? You know what I mean? And if it's irrational, should we really then even accept it? You know what I mean? And you were finna say something about creationism before the camera strike. What were you finna say?
Well, Big Bang Theory. You was look at the Big Bang Theory. How did that even take place if there was just void?
Well, two things. One, we don't know if there was just void. You know what I mean? That's a misrepresentation of the physics. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, and I don't claim to be a physicist, but first of all, the Big Bang may be the start of the universe, space and time, or it may be a beginning within a larger, more complex, what's called the multiverse system. You know what I mean? Which means it may actually just be a event within event. You see what I'm saying? And then, of course, you could then say, well, then who created the multiverse? You know what I mean? But the counter argument would then be who created God? You know what I mean? Because who's to say that only your God has to be eternal and your belief system says your God's eternal, so God was the first cause? But I can easily make the argument who created God.
Like in the Christian book, what I was always told, which it was hard for me to accept, like a lot of other different things. Again, I'm not saying I'm an atheist, but again, there's a lot of other things that was hard for me to accept. Like, for one, when my mom used to be like, oh yeah, well, if nobody created God, God has just always existed. But like, you know, in my mind, God always existing, that's hard for me to anything just always existing, you know, like everything has a beginning and end to it, I would, think, like it's hard to wrap my head around the fact that nothing never had a beginning.
You know, and that's not as hard for me if you understand the physics of time. Technically, only things that are temporal, within time, because time is a physical property of the universe, like gravity, like light. You know what I mean? Yeah. Outside the universe, there is no time. You see what I'm saying? Time is a part of the, me and you, but all that's our part. So something outside of time would not need a beginning. Only things within time need beginning and ends, because beginning and ends are intervals in time.
What would you want? Have you ever wondered, okay, if God is real, where would God get his powers from, or where would God get all these different things from to do all these things and create all this? Where does he get all this from? Or how did he get all this?
That's the thing. It was there's some things are a mystery, but some things, to me, in my opinion, some things are best left as a mystery.
I completely disagree.
For me, some things are best left unknown, because sometimes, for me, I don't really want to find out. So
I think that's part of the problem. I think one of the main reasons why, and no offense to people that are religious, you know what I mean? Because I'm not saying I know everything, but I just feel like that's one of the main reasons why religion is strong. Because people fear the unknown. You know what I mean? Who really wants to, at the end of the day, just accept that maybe this is it? It may not be nothing that when you die, you may be as real as before you were born. How much did you know before you were born? Nothing. You know, and I think that thought scares people so much.
You know what? That was one of the biggest questions I used to ask myself is, what was I doing before I was born? As stupid as that question sounds, because I guess I'm saying that in the sense of, if I did die, you know what I mean? What if there was, people always have this thing man, if this is it, wouldn't that suck? But if we did die, will we actually be aware that it sucks? Because if we are in a state like before you were born, which is non-existence, you wouldn't know. It wouldn't actually suck at all, because you would not know. It would be over with at that point. You know what I mean? Personally, I don't believe you existed before you were born. You know what I mean? I don't think, even if you accept God, I think that God, granted if he exists, that he gave us, I don't like the way that sounded, that he allowed us to evolve to a point where we come into creation basically during conception. Not even conception, but you know what I mean, a little bit further on. But the point is, your parents created you, in a sense. You know what I mean? Now, can you believe that God maybe infused you with a soul later? That's neither here nor there. You can accept that. But I don't believe that you, your soul or spirit, was existing before. Because how could you? When you are a reflection of, you know what I mean? You take half your genes from your mother and your father. Their life experiences cause you to have your life experience. Who you are based on who your parents was, where you were born. All that was all, and unless of course you believe that was all predetermined
then I would probably think you're also pretty crazy as well. Smoking, you know what I mean?
Or like, I think like something that was dope was like, I guess like a lot of movies, well not a lot, but a couple of movies and TV shows have shown or whatever. For example, like Heroes, you know what I mean? I remember it was this one, I mean that show went way like past being good, it went trash. But they had this one where this dude died or whatever, you know, because they had like mutant-like powers. And this one of the dudes died. And like the other guy, he had like the power to like brainwash thoughts into people's heads. So like he went up to this villain who had like his name was Siler or something like that, and he could like shapeshift and things of that nature. He like brainwashed in his head that he was the other person who died, and he put all his memories in that person's head, and they were trying to say that he was still alive through that person. And then it was bringing on the topic of, are we made of memories or whatever? Like you were saying the other day, when you were like, well, what if I was to tell you we were just having this conversation and we were created 20 seconds ago, and God just put all these different memories in our head to make us feel like we've lived this life this whole time, but we've really just been alive 20
because my argument was, what he's talking about is we were talking about, again, the same topic now. Is it reasonable to believe certain things? And I made the argument that, well, I mean, is it possible theoretically that God created us 20 seconds ago and put all our memories in our head, and we only think that we've been around for 23 years or 21 years? I mean, is it theoretically possible if God exists? Yes. But is that a reasonable belief to have? Fuck no. That is not some reasonable shit to believe. It's more likely that you've lived all those years. You see what I'm saying? That just seems a more reasonable belief system than you know, a sky daddy, as some people call it. And that argument actually was first presented by Lawrence Krauss, the physicist. I just want to plug that, you know what I mean, so people don't think I'm stealing shit. You know what I mean? But so is it reasonable? I mean, belief. The thing with belief is beliefs can get so crazy and out of hand that it's like, where does it stop? Where do you draw the line? Yeah. I mean, because you may say, well, this seems like a reasonable belief, but then if I tell you some shit like I can turn into a Super Saiyan, you guys would think that's crazy. But why is that any less believable than Moses parting the Red Sea? I mean, you have no proof either way on either one of those.
Yeah, because I think
I'm bouncing too much.
Okay, but I think more of anything, I think people have this idea of like, if you were to tell somebody that you're a Super Saiyan, I guess people will look at it. Yeah, but I think that people more so look at it like whatever, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen in this day and age. But people always have this belief that like things that happen in the Bible doesn't happen in this day and age. But and that's one of my main points is, if all these different stories that happen again, I'm not saying it's not true. I want to believe that it is true. But I'm saying is, if all these different things happened back then, why don't we see as much of that stuff now that we have cameras and stuff like that?
Yeah, have you noticed? The decline in miracles since the invention of the
I like that one dude, we see him getting, he was having an exorcist or whatever, and he was being possessed and all. And then in the middle of his exorcist at church, he answered his phone.
That was just somebody trying to be a douchebag, though. I can't believe that was a real, even from their perspective, supposed to be a real one. You know what I mean? That was clearly some guy being like a douche, clearly. You know what I mean?
I like you're saying like,
I'm getting exorcism.
Are you saying
yeah,
can't talk right now.
Are you saying if you think about the whole facts behind the story of Job, it may not be as the best book the way Christians try to make that
Job, Job, if you really just analyze it without taking your religious no, that's Jonah. No. If you take without the religious bias, like that story was a dig. Like, God allowed this man to go through all this shit to make some cosmic point. He killed niggas' kids. He took this man's shit. Like, just because you and the devil had a bet, just because the devil said, I bet you this nigga a break. Really? You killed his kids because the nigga made a bet like that? Like, that's why actually that brings up another argument that Voltaire made, is that based on the way we see the world, if you read that, or if you see
our perception of the world,
or if you see an earthquake, you know what I mean, and it kills, and it knocks down the church, and it kills all the believers, you know what I mean, or a Hurricane Katrina, or you know, anything where it's a natural disaster, right, that affected not only bad people, or i.e. bad people, but those that are believers, you know what I mean? Because the Bible makes the argument that no man is good, but it also makes the argument that there are those that are good through faith. You see what I'm saying? Remember, he said he would not destroy Sodom
and Gomorrah if there was
like 10
righteous people, even if there was a couple righteous people, you know what I mean, that he wouldn't destroy.
Wasn't there like 3 or 4 though?
No, it was just Lot.
Lot.
Well, just
Lot
Lot
and
and
his
his family basically, and he did that on the strength of Abraham. But the argument then goes that you're telling me that there was nobody that truly believed you in any of these areas. That's one, probably very highly unlikely. Two, that's what the argument Voltaire presented. Either God is A, not all good, or he is B, not all powerful. Because either he does things that are morally questionable, or he can't stop things that are morally questionable. And either way, then you have a dichotomy. Do you worship a God that is not all good, or one that is not all powerful? And then does he deserve that respect? I mean, to throw you in hell for a lifetime of suffering simply because he didn't make it clear enough to you by giving 1,000 religions on the planet, and you really couldn't come to the conclusion which one was real, and then to throw you in eternity of hellfire for that doesn't seem like a good dude. Like,
I gotta make an interjection.
Go ahead.
I really wasn't going to.
Go ahead. We want
But
you to.
the thing about it is that people get the misconception of if you make one bad mistake or if you can't make up your mind that you will go to hell. My belief is, you know how I remember I got put over by the police one time. Not trying to go over to the last video, but I got put over by the police and he said such and such, and I was like, "Well, I didn't know this." He said, "Well, it doesn't matter, but if you didn't know it or not, it's the rule is the rule. With God, that's not how it is. You have the Old Testament, you have the New Testament. We're talking about the same God, but he put his
tear this argument up. Go ahead.
You're not. He doesn't put his word before himself. He puts his word before himself. Mm-hmm. So the God in the Old Testament is different from the God in the New Testament. We live in a New Testament age.
But doesn't he say I'm the same God?
I just said he's the same God, but he's not going to literally do the same things he's done before. He's the same. Yeah. He's the same person. I didn't remember. I didn't make my point. I didn't make my point. What I'm trying to say is, dang, what's the train of thought?
That's right.
Nah, what are we talking about?
You talking about God, your belief in the old difference?
Oh yeah. So when I got put over by the cops, he was like, "Well, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get, you know what I'm saying, punished for what you did. God, you're not going to get punished for what you did. What I believe in, what you don't know of, you won't be held accountable for.
That's one of the issues.
What you don't know of, you won't be accountable. That's why you have kids. When you have kids, until they learn what's actually right from wrong. You got kids that are 5, 6, 7 years old that's cursing, drinking, smoking, all that stuff. Does that mean they're going to help? No, it doesn't.
But you also have kids.
It's called accountability. Now, if God tells you, if I tell you, this is bad, and you know it's bad, and you go against it, that's different. But if you are struggling with something and actually trying to make that justify, trying to correct your mistakes, that's a totally different story. That's the God that I believe in. You know what I'm saying? He's not gonna hold you accountable for something that you clearly don't know.
And the contradiction, you see, that sometimes in order to not fit those sometimes harsh beliefs, you have to almost reinvent or reinterpret the text that goes against church history even for the last 2,000 years. I mean, the gospel makes it plainly clear that if you don't accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you're going to hell. I mean, it makes no point about that. Well, if you're a Muslim, you're going to hell.
Well, do you think that Joel Osteen or something like that is like, I guess, preaching the same word? I mean, everybody has their own. I'm pretty sure every pastor has their own twist to their word. But he was saying something different. Like when they were asking him about like, what do you think of like gay marriage and gay people? He was one of the pastors to come out and be like, I would tell him that God loves them the same. It's all good.
I mean, that may be fine and well, but what is the text actually saying? Nobody you can come up with
your own
all the time.
There's multiple ways to interpret something.
Yeah, but what does the text say? What does 2,000 years of church history has always said? You see what I'm saying? A lot of stuff in our modern era, because which I like people having their own mind. You know what I mean? I just think I wish it would
get them to better conclusions than it sometimes seems to do. But you know what I mean? So I understand people wanting to, you know, be able to interpret the text for their own in their own way, which is true to an extent, but you can't forget that this is still a historical book with a specific time that it was written in, a people, a culture, a historical context, and you just can't take your interpretation out of that, which a lot of people seem to do because, you know what I mean, I don't even know how to explain why they do what they do. I don't know. I don't get it. But so you know what I mean, you can make it say what it wants, but the Bible, Paul clearly says multiple times that liars and murderers and homosexuals and thieves all have their place in hell.
Just a man that's writing his own.
I mean, that's the whole book. I mean, that's the belief. I mean, that what religion isn't a man telling you what he said God told him? I mean, if that's the case, then that's my point, actually. You know,
are you saying that all these people are just mans that's writing down what God has told them?
Or at least what listen, they all can't be, not necessarily in just the Bible. I'm just saying religion in general. Everybody can't be. Muhammad and Jesus both can't be right, or the New Testament writers can't be right. You see what I'm saying? And Muhammad, the people that wrote the Quran.
So you're not somebody who believes all these religions are saying the same thing.
No, I mean that's again.
I think they all kind of run parallel to each other.
To an extent, you know what I mean. But there are key differences that I don't think that we need to gloss over. You either accept them and say, hey, you know what I mean, I can love you as a person, but I think you're wrong. You know what I mean? That's just the Quran says Jesus did not die on the cross. The Bible in the New Testament says the only way you go to heaven is to believe that Jesus died on the cross. Both of them can't be right. You see what I'm saying? You can die and not die on the cross. Somebody's wrong. You see what I'm saying? Or maybe both of you niggas is wrong. You know what I mean? Ancestor religions that believe in ancestors affecting the world. You know what I mean? Everybody just simply can't be right. Somebody's wrong or everybody's wrong. You know what I mean? Yeah. Somewhere. You see what I'm saying? And what's more reasonable? To believe that one of these guys out of the other thousands of religions that have came and gone are right, you know what I mean? Or like the other Zeus and other mythologies, they're probably all just wrong, you know what I mean? Which is more reasonable to believe, you know what I mean? And I may be wrong, you know what I mean? I may come across some, you know, I like to be a skeptic in the sense of not cynicism, which is I just don't never believe nothing no matter what you show me. No, if you show me evidence and facts, I'm happy to accept. If you say ghost real and you show me a ghost, well, fuck it, ghosts are real. You know what I mean? But until I see that ghost,
but see, the thing is that evidence does solidify a lot, and it's like
in what?
Improving
what?
Improving the fact.
What facts? Like biblical facts? Because
it's going based off what you were just saying.
You're just saying that, facts can be proven. Yeah, no question.
Because when it comes to the Bible, I feel like it's more, I mean, I think anyone will tell you, any Christian will tell you it's more faith than more so evidence or things. Maybe like historical evidence with like a lot of the people that existed and things are true. But I think as far as, I mean, unless it's either, I mean, like I said, like, you know, Moses hitting down a stick and turning it to a stick. All that stuff, it just seems.
I mean, not just that. I mean, to be honest, if you want to look at it from the archaeologists, they say there's not even evidence of an exodus at all. What you would have, if you have such a mass migration of people, you see what I'm saying? There will be some proof that this happened. There is none. There is no daggers. There's no tent pole. There's no people at the bottom of a sea. There's nothing. You know what I mean? Now, some people argue maybe I'll give the argument to the other side that maybe we're one, looking in the wrong places, or two, maybe the time period in which we're looking at may be off. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But until that time, there's really, and this isn't just a shot at Christianity, because I mean, you know, Muslims and Jews accept Moses' story as well. But there's not even a historical mention of it outside the Torah. Right. The Egyptians don't talk about one at all.
Right. The Egyptians don't talk about it
at all.
Really?
We didn't save those people.
Egyptologists will tell you that that's a Jewish made-up story, that it doesn't exist. It never happened. There's no proof.
Really?
Outside the Bible, there's no historical reference to an Exodus.
Wow.
To a Moses or anything of the sort.
What's the main religious belief? I hope I don't sound ignorant, but what's like the main religious belief in...
The most popular one is Christianity.
Yeah, Christianity is the largest
religion. So in Egypt, Christianity...
No. In Egypt, Islam is the largest religion.
Okay, but Islam... Oh, okay.
We still believe the Moses story. I mean, that's...
So wait, if they don't believe in... If this is like... If most Egyptians would tell you, like...
not most Egyptians, most historians. There is a difference between archaeologists and historians in everyday Egypt. Most Egyptians are probably illiterate, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not that sounds fucked up, but it's just most third world countries are not. It may not be most, but it's not a whole like 90% piece.
Right,
you know what I mean? It's definitely like 90% of people probably cannot read. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's not. It's at most it's probably half and half, 50-50, you know what I mean? 60-40 some shit, you know what I mean? But no, there's no historical references outside of the Exodus book of Exodus.
All right, what another thing will be is like people always be like, God talks to me and stuff. I want to know, are they saying that God is talking to them clear as day? Like not with
it just depends on who you're talking to.
Are you really hearing God's voice? You know what I mean? Because if Moses
said God spoke to him face to face. He actually makes a point of saying that in Exodus that Moses is not like other prophets in that I speak to them in dreams and visions. It's not that way with my servant Moses. He alone I speak to face. You know what I mean?
Because what I'm saying is Moses, he must have had to see God for him to go up to a big ass sea, and with a whole bunch of people with a damn army behind him coming up, with an angry army coming up behind him on his ass or whatever to go up to a huge sea, hit his shit, and then part the sea and just walk right through it. He had to have known, he must have been some brave,
It's called faith, man.
Or to be on
it's faith, man.
Or it's just maybe a folk story that never happened. I mean, that's also a possibility, though.
Because you know what I mean? Because people be like, oh yeah, God talked to me and the world is going to end on March 7th at 5:03. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't it be easier though if God wanted us to believe on faith and He truly cared and wanted everybody? Wouldn't it be easier just to reveal one religion to everybody? Why does He keep revealing? Why does everybody seem to keep getting interpretations that are culturally biased? You know what I mean? Fits perfectly into their time zone. I mean, certain things that are in the Bible or the Quran you wouldn't accept today. You like Muhammad married a 9-year-old, guys. No one would accept that today. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean? She was 9. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
now you can say, well, a lot of ancient people did that, which is true. But if it's a divine truth should not matter the time zone. You see what I'm saying? Or time period, I should say. You know what I mean? Objective truths are true no matter what. You know what I mean? The Bible in the Torah, it says about how you should when you come into the land, slaughter the man, take the women and children as slaves. No, if a white person tried to tell you that slavery was okay today, you would slap the shit out of them. God said it was okay. So who are you to get mad at white folks for doing it? I mean, you can just go down the list of things that if you heard. Paul says women should be silent in the church. Shut up. Look, bitch, shut up. You know what I mean?
When you walk in, I don't want to hear nothing.
This is what you're doing. This is what I want you to do.
You're a female.
You wouldn't accept that today. Yeah. You'd be like, yo, Paul, you tripping, bro. Chill. Chill. You know what I mean? So my point is, and it's not that these are maybe it is true. Maybe I'm just too liberal. Maybe I'm just a product of my time. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is great evidence. Great beliefs demand greater evidence. You know what I mean? And I don't know if no evidence is definitely not a valid argument. You know what I mean? To believe something for the sake of belief,
it's faith.
It's ridiculous.
It comes down to faith no matter what. Like we can say, oh man, I need to see some type of belief or evidence. But or existence or anything that came from the past or something happened or whatever like that. None of it matters because at the end of the day, though. Should it matter?
Yes, it should matter.
What's the pure definition of faith?
The belief without knowing.
Yeah, or as the Bible says, things hoped for that are not seen.
Period.
Which is ridiculous.
That's the greatest thing.
No,
why is that great?
Why is that great? Why is ignorant?
Because I don't need a someone to quote unquote prove it. Like truth is truth no matter what, if you want to believe it or not.
That's another thing I want to
That's the thing. That's my point.
Okay,
truth is truth regardless of whether you believe it, which means if truth is truth, regardless of whether you believe it, the evidence of the truth of what the Bible says happened or the Quran or any other religion should be there regardless whether I believe it or not. You see what I'm saying? A global flood is going to be there whether I like it or not. You see what I'm saying? The evidence of that is just going to be there. The sun being created after the earth, but yet there's moving water on the earth, which we know is impossible.
Let me ask you
know what I mean? It's just not possible.
It comes down. I meant to say this earlier. It comes down to why would you believe in a God that does these things? Well, I don't understand. Why would he do this? Or why would he have this? My son is 3 years old, right? He asked for candy. He asked for candy.
Argument. Go ahead.
It's dope. So he asked for candy. I say no. He say why? I said because. Period. He's not going to understand that until he gets a little older. Think about it. If you, how old are you, Jeremiah?
23.
23. If you knew what you was while your moms and pops was raising you while you was little, you gonna look at your moms and pops like, nah, I ain't listening to what you saying, because my mindset is of a grown man. You know what I'm saying? You got to remember, we still children of God. We're not supposed to believe that. Well, we're not supposed to understand why our parents go to work all day and don't spend time with us. We're not supposed to believe all that stuff, because if we already knew what we knew, supposed to know 20 years past this time or whatever, like, none of it would mean that.
That argument. Go ahead. Go say what you want, because I got something to say on it too. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I mean, if you want to say what you want to say, because I think this could throw me into another direction, is that something that again, I want to believe that all this is real. I want to believe that God is real, and, slight bit, not to be biased, but I want to believe that I'm still a Christian in some form, but I still have questions to ask, you know what I mean? But that's what I want to know is that just, what you're saying, like, that's an argument we've heard before, is what you're saying, is that something that we should really consider, or is it one of those points that we just tell ourselves, and we've always been told to give ourselves comfort, because at the end of the day, religion is comfort for a lot of us, or whatever, you know what I mean? Are we telling ourselves, like, hey, I don't have the answers, I shouldn't go out and look for the answers, because if I did find those answers, I may be too hurt or heartbroken or something like that, if it isn't true. Again, I'm saying this from a point of, I'm hoping that it is true. But I'm just saying, should we look at it, are we looking at it as we're going in with like an open mind, or actually trying to find the answers? Are we cutting ourselves short just by saying, hey, it is what it is? Like, one of the biggest things I would say is I was misunderstood, and I can't just go by my situation. But I used to talk to my mom like, hey, let's have a conversation. Or I want to talk to my pops, they'd be like, hey, you need to talk to God, you know what I mean? God is the person that understands you. God isn't sitting down with me having a one-on-one conversation with me right now. So it's hard for me to be understood by God. You see what I'm saying? It's like...
It's to always... Like, another example is like, people in the army and whatever, stuff like that. They got the higher-ups. Let's say, whatever. They're like, hey, go over there and go pick up this barrel of apples. First thing you gonna do is like, nigga, why I gotta pick up the bag of apples? But before you know it, there's a bomb right there in front of you. You getting blown up. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things is that you have to go in there with an open mind. Yes, I'll do this, or yes, I'll do that, or yes, I will believe this, just because of who you are.
What I think it comes down to a matter of, are you really searching for truth, or do you just want to prove your preconceived beliefs? Which is two different arguments. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Someone who truly wants to find truth you can't simply dust these things under the rug and say, well, I'm human, so I don't know. So, oh well, you know what I mean? No, that's a cop out. Yeah, what's that? I mean, certain things certain things. You see what I'm saying? For instance, let's go to the Genesis story, right? It's one thing to say, the belief in God. You know what I mean? It takes faith, because you can't prove or disprove. I completely agree with that. That's no problem. But then to say, for instance, the chapter that tells us about the 6 days of creation, right? And it says that the earth was created before the sun and the moon. You know what I mean? That God moved across the waters. And these things, when we know these things are just not factual, we've proved it's not possible. You know what I mean? So either two things. Either that's wrong, or maybe our interpretation is wrong, and maybe that story isn't meant to be taken literal. You know what I mean? Which is maybe a valid answer. You know what I mean? As Galileo, who was a Christian scientist, once said, when he studied the Bible, he came to the conclusion, the Bible tells you how to get to heaven, but not how the heavens go. You see what I'm saying? And the point is, because certain things we just know are just not factually true. You know what I mean? We know the earth, if you calculate how long it says Adam lived to how long Jesus, and calculate to us, that's 6,000 years. The earth is not 6,000 years old. And that's not a belief, that's a fact. You don't.
And where does
your
dinosaurs
belief, your belief has nothing to do with a fact. You know what I mean? You don't have to believe gravity. Gravity is a fact, whether you like it or not. The earth being older than 6,000 years is a fact, no matter what the Bible tells you. That is a fact. Now you can make the argument of, well, maybe Adam was in the garden longer, and the Bible doesn't calculate those years. You can try to
do some gymnastics with it, but certain things are just facts. The sun was not created after the earth.
And that's
You
why,
know what I mean? That's just a
and
fact.
that's why I'm somebody that's not going to be like, I don't want to be one of those people that's like, oh yeah, I don't have the answers, I'll never know. I want to be somebody that continues to search for the answers and keep on finding, like, hey, maybe this isn't the way it was supposed
All
to
I'm
be.
saying is give me a valid
That's how I was going with
argument.
it. Like some part of it goes to responsibility, and for us that if you do have a question, you should look for the answer.
Yeah, no question.
Hands down. Like
Because we
for
didn't.
me-
Because
for me personally, I had a lot of questions also, but my mom will always say, if you have a question, you should look it up because it's not because like I don't have all the answers. So
you know, it's a good line I heard.
on this journey, you will have to find some of your own answers, and that'll be and if you don't understand something, then come to me so I can come probably put it in a better understanding.
All right, if you don't
I
have
think
the
you have
answer,
to really search though.
All right,
Some
if you
people
don't-
really don't.
a lot of people have questions, but they don't look for their answers. Like some people like like what you said with the I'm human, so I don't know. What is stopping you from looking for the answer itself?
Who says these
Who
answers
says
can't be
the-
found?
Exactly. So it's like not everything is a mystery. Some things do have an end.
And one of the biggest things I will say is, why would people always have this thing where you like this conversation right now. For some Christians, they'll believe that we should probably go to hell for this conversation. You know what I mean? But I think it gets to a point where if God gave you a brain or whatever,
And
if He gave
reason.
you a mind and reason, He made you in His image the way you say. Do you really think He wouldn't want you to use that? You think that God
course.
wouldn't want you to question and really dig deep? Why would God make us this complex for us not to think about all these different things or debate all these different things? You know what I mean? I just think that there's just too much. There's so much more to the bigger scheme of things or whatever. Pertaining to where did we come from? God, higher power, for us to just take the answers as this is my belief. I've been taught this my whole entire life.
that's what I was
Let me
gonna-
not search and dig up for more. You know what I mean?
That's why I like science so much, because that's the difference to me between science and religion. Is ultimately science asks its questions, religion tries to answer them before they even know what the question is. You know what I mean? Before you even
Have
get
an
to what
answer.
we're even trying to
They were answers
understand,
before
you're
they were
already
questions.
trying to answer, and you don't. And the question that we may need to ask may not even be the answer you gave. You know what I mean?
And you're saying that there's a lot of people that I think people get this whole notion that if you ask the question, ye have little faith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't know.
Well,
you know what
I
I mean?
think-
You have.
But I heard, like I said, I
that's
heard
what I'm
that one
saying, but
person.
don't
I don't believe you really believed it if you never questioned it.
Right. And that,
All in all we're trying to say is, you need to search for truth, search for deeper understanding, and really question yourselves and question your beliefs. Don't let anyone tell you anything, your pastor or your parents, because no one always knows.
It's good to be skeptic sometimes. I'll admit that. Because sometimes you can't just be like, okay, like, don't be gullible to what everything people tell you. Because, like, to be honest, like, when my pastor's speaking, I don't believe everything he says.
I remember.
I have to actually look back to what, I have to go back to solidify what he was saying. So, sometimes it's actually good to be skeptic.
Definitely. I remember when you were saying there was a lot of people that were, big into Christianity or their religion, and they questioned it, and they still believed in science and proofs, and they even said, like, yo, I believe this is what I truly believe in, but at the same time, this is a question that I don't have the answer to. It's a question I'm going to keep on asking. It's fishy. It's okay to ask for the answers. It's okay to not know everything.
It's okay not to
to
not
keep
know,
on searching. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And it's definitely, you need to get to a point where you don't need to be sensitive about these topics or whatever. I know it's a painful subject, and I've definitely been, but at the end of the day, just question things and keep searching for answers.
And don't be scared to question either.
This is Beautiful Algorithms, you know what I mean? Just
Stay tuned.
yeah, join us on our walk through knowledge.
Like, comment, share. Also, don't be afraid to send us some of the topics that you want us to discuss on.
Definitely, one thing I want to
Open to
say.
suggestions.
One thing I want to say is, if y'all feel a certain way, if y'all feel like we said something wrong or anything like that, I would definitely like for y'all to
Comment at the bottom.
Comment at the bottom,
Yeah,
debate.
join us in the debate,
Or if
please.
y'all really believe that there's more that y'all want to talk about, feel free to join in on the show or so. You
All
know,
open minds.
we're all open here. We're not sensitive. Make sure if you come, don't be sensitive. You know, there's a lot to discuss.
Swag.